Chronic traumatic encephalopathy is a disease that destroys your brain. It begins as someone receives a blow or has their head shaken. When this happens to someone, their brain hits the inner portion of their skull. As their brain hits their skull, it is damaged, and this is where the problems begin. There are billions and billions of neurons, essentially connecting wires that run throughout our brain. Neurons are made up of a cell body, axons, dendrites, and the axon terminal. This is how they look. They are long, skinny, and wiry. Neurons work by sending electrical and chemical signals throughout the body. The impulses arrive at the dendrite, move into the cell body where they are processed, and then along the axon. When the signal reaches the end of the axon at the axon terminal is also known as the synapse. The synapse releases a neurotransmitter, and this neurotransmitter will move on to the next neuron to continue the process that we just described. This communicating line is disrupted when the brain receives a blow. Instead of being a complex wiring system that works smoothly and is connected throughout the brain, the long wiry axons break or snap. This causes a disruption in the communication of the body. The axon is made up of tiny microtubules that run through it. These microtubules are held together by a protein called tau. This protein structurally holds the microtubules together, allowing them to work effectively. In this illustration, you can see the tau and how it holds the microtubules together. You can also see what happens after a neuron is broken. As they break and snap, the tau gathers together, forming clumps, and moves throughout the brain, breaking down other microtubules and axons. This next video explains just how much some of these impacts on a football field can have upon someone's brain.
Every year, over 100,000 concussions occur in all levels of football, and 60% of these are from head-to-head collisions. In an impact lasting just 15 milliseconds, a player's head, on average, experiences almost 100 Gs of force, and collisions on special teams can result in forces of up to 190 Gs. In the NFL, the average speed of a head-to-head impact, the velocity of both heads combined, is 20 miles per hour, with the struck player's head decelerating 14 miles per hour. According to studies done by Sports Science's chief medical advisor, Dr. Basil Aish, this 15 millisecond impact is equivalent to getting smashed in the head with a sledgehammer. In the last 10 years, the average number of days a concussed player is out has more than doubled, and even improved helmet technology is only able to reduce an 80G impact to 40 Gs, still several times when an F-16 pilot experiences, and more than enough to cause a concussion or neck fracture.
The damage can manifest in many different ways, including blackout, headache, blurry vision, balance problems, altered mood and behavior, problems with memory, thinking, and sleeping, and the onset of anxiety and depression. Every brain is different, which explains why people's experiences of concussions vary so widely. Luckily, the majority of concussions fully heal and symptoms disappear within a matter of days or weeks. Lots of rest and a gradual return to activity allows the brain to heal itself. Sometimes, victims of concussion can experience something called post-concussion syndrome, or PCS. People with PCS may experience constant headaches, learning difficulties, and behavioral symptoms that even affect their personal relationships for months or years after the injury. Trying to play through a concussion, even for only a few minutes, or returning to sports too soon after a concussion, makes it more likely to develop PCS. In some cases, a concussion can be hard to diagnose because the symptoms unfold slowly over time. That's often true of subconcussive impacts, which result from lower impact jolts to the head than those that cause concussions. This category of injury doesn't cause noticeable symptoms right away, but can lead to severe degenerative brain diseases over time, if it happens repeatedly.
The only way to fix this rapidly growing disease is by decreasing the amount of times someone is hit in the head throughout their life, especially in kids under 14. People under the age of 14 should not be allowed to play tackle football. When still developing in younger years, oftentimes children's heads are disproportionate to their bodies. This causes problems because their necks aren't strong enough to stabilize their head. Upon impact, their head and therefore their brain will shake back and forth more than it should, causing the brain to hit their skull. NFL Hall of Famer Nick Buoncotti said, quote, "I beg of you, all parents, to please don't let your children play football until high school. I made the mistake of starting tackle football at 9 years old. Now CTE has taken my life away. Youth tackle football is all risk with no reward," end quote. If we change the youth leagues that we allow our children to participate in, it will allow their bodies further time to develop, which will decrease the chance they have of getting concussions when they are younger. This decrease in the amount of hits to their brains will also decrease the chance they have of getting CTE, because they will have gone at least 6 more years without receiving any vicious blows to the head. In conclusion, CTE is a problem that is plaguing our youth and professionals that until now hasn't been brought to public knowledge. Something needs to be done. Communities, schools, and the NFL need to take responsibility to protect their players and athletes. In the past, the NFL has been accused of not following concussion protocol or hiding the CTE research that has come up. But because it is such a damaging disease, players and parents deserve to know what could potentially happen to football players regarding head injuries. As these parents realize what the sport of football is doing to their children, they too will be on board with changing the leagues to just flag football. Flag football will enable children to be able to feel the love of football and of being physically active while still retaining their mental abilities and not harming their brains.